Welcome to Kursi, Senegal. In my last video, I gave just a peek into the economies of 3 African countries, but I realized that it might be helpful to go just one step further and give a little more meaning to the concept of economic growth. When economists measure the economy of a given country, they add up 4 numbers. They add up the amount of money that consumers spend on goods and services. And then they add to that the amount of money that businesses spend, say on manufacturing or hiring people or just other things that businesses spend money on. And then they add in the amount of money that governments spend. Governments spend on infrastructure like building bridges, on social services, on the military, hiring people, and all the things that governments spend. And then finally, they add to that what's called net exports. And that is the amount of products that a country exports minus the amount of products that a country imports. So they add up all those numbers, and the total is called GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product. And that is a measurement of an economy. So GDP for the United States, say in the year 2018, was $20.5 trillion. Now, in comparison, GDP for Ghana in that same year was $65.6 billion. For Senegal, it was $24.2 billion. And then for the Gambia, it was $1.6 billion. So obviously, the economies of the countries in Africa, at least in these 3 countries, pales by comparison to the size of the economy in the United States. But that's not what matters as much as the growth. And in some cases, the economies of certain countries in Africa are growing as much as 3 times the rate of the US economy. And so that growth is what creates the opportunity. So it's a little bit like buying stock in a small startup company versus a large established one. To buy a share of stock in a large, successful, established company, chances are you're going to have to pay a lot of money. For example, if you were to buy a share of Alphabet stock, Alphabet being the parent company of Google, you have to pay $1,500 for one measly share. So if you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to be able to buy very many shares. So even though the price of the stock might increase, you're not going to be able to get a big return for your investment. However, if you were to purchase shares in a startup company where the price is likely to be much, much lower, like $10, $15, maybe even lower than that, you can buy a lot more shares so that as the price of the shares increase due to the company growing, then you're going to get a lot more return for your investment. So many of the countries in Africa are like that startup company. Even though they've been around for a long time, they're still in the beginning stages of their growth. So you are, if you're a person who has less opportunities in the country that you're in, you stand to gain to be able to take advantage of the growth opportunities that are there, because when the economy is growing, that means maybe consumers are spending more, businesses are spending more, the government is spending more, and so it creates an opportunity for you to be a part of that growth. Now, the thing you have to think very seriously about is what kind of investment you are willing and able to make when you move into the country, right? Are you able to, do you have skills or assets or something that you can provide to the country that the people in Africa need? So the challenge there is to, really do an inventory of your own assets and talents and determine what it is that you can bring to the country, because you can't just show up on the doorstep and expect to benefit from the opportunities that are there without investing resources yourself. And so that's something we have to think about when we choose a country to relocate. What can we bring? What talents do we have that can be utilized in a way so that by investing those talents, we get the most back, we get the greatest return from our investment?